terms of dating and courting, do you feel that, I don't know, I'm going to say that it seems to be like a birth of a new age, modernized woman. And that's me as a woman saying it, yeah? Where they're, on one hand, super independent. I can do everything else myself anyway, but then on the opposite side of that, we've got the, but you should be doing this for me. Like, in the same pot. For me personally, I think it's a conflict of interest that you even got the two attitudes. But what is you guys' opinion on things like that? Especially, you know, like in that initial dating stage, when women will say things like, oh, a guy should contribute to this, or he should have a car, he should pick me up, he should do this and do that. But bear in mind, you're not together. Like, what's your thoughts around that? Especially by a woman that will say, yeah, well, a man should be able to do this because I can do this for myself anyway. So that whole, you meet my standard kind of thing. What's your thoughts on that?
I think
Cry me a river.
I think unconsciously they're onto something, but it's being steered, of course. So like independence, again, you know, we should all have a level of independence. I'll call it interdependence, because you should be able to function in your own accord, you know, own your own essence, as in like understand it, but by understanding it, you're going to know you need the other essence. There is no man without woman, there's no woman without man. So it's I think there's a level of like, they get it, but there's two parts. The independence is the independence of like self. You're doing you're on your own journey, and you're responsible for your own growth in terms of like your self-work. But then once you do that, you start realizing actually we can't do it. I need a counterpart. We have to do it. There has to. Ant says it all the time about, you know, like if we logically say you can't create life without the man and the woman, the masculine and the feminine, how are we then in a relationship going to be saying you can't have one without the other, or you must be independent, or I think there's a lot of like confusion which is kind of blocking people from tapping into their natural essence. So it's using the confusion of like consumerism to move people away from actually tuning in to like, okay, you know, they say as within so without, or whatever it is. So because we're in this consumerism, we keep looking out and wanting answers and wanting to follow and wanting to worship, and everything's like, when your answers are not, they're not out there. I've learned this myself as well, because I'm like, the more I've tuned into self, I've realised how imperative the woman is. Whereas before I was talking some bitches, I don't need them, I'm independent, I can do it myself. And as frustrating as you can get with the opposite sex, actually they're imperative for our growth. But there's an attack, obviously, on people seeing their true essence. So, yeah, I mean, I'm tired of it, man. I'm just tired of it. Like,
You should be though.
Yes.
You should be, because
it's too much.
It's all a front. It's all a front. It's boring. The reason why it's boring is because like everybody deep down just wants to be loved.
Yeah.
That's it. All the other stuff is extras. But like when you have each other, you can make it happen if you put your mind together, if you put your heart together, if you actually sit down and unpack. This is what I'm saying. So all with what you said, right? If you unpack and you can see it for the way it actually is, like, oh shit, we need each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All the other stuff is just like, oh, this is what I need. If if you lot have each other, you lot will make it work.
So, sorry to cut you, but just so we don't go too outside with the question, do you think that, because you mentioned consumerism, do you think that that's, what you're saying is like the bigger picture of making things work? And when I say the bigger picture, that's of when you identify within yourself what's missing or what needs to happen. That's the journey you take with that person.
So you want other
But
stuff?
in terms of, no, not that, but before we get to that, this is why I made the question was specific to the dating stage. When girls are on the match me. So if I can do this for myself, I want the man to match me. So if I get my hair and my nails and my eyelash and my this and my that done,
does that make sense?
No, but this is what I'm asking. How does that sit with you as men? How do you absorb that?
This is why. See, look. This is.
You're asking the wrong
I
people.
would not last like that. I wouldn't last like that. I would have to unpack why. Why?
Okay. Unpack for yourself or for her?
For us both.
Okay.
Because she needs help.
So,
No.
I'm laughing not because it's not true.
No. She needs assistance. And what's happened is she's probably cut off from that source of help, of power that you can't buy, that you can't see, you can only feel. And when you know, you just know. So that's what I'm on. When I know, I just know. Like, I can be watching something and I'm getting all the answers, and these shows are relevant, but I'm picking up all these things. Oh yeah, shit, that makes sense. And it adds up, and it presents itself in real time. That's what I'm tapped into. So when I'm having this conversation with this woman, right? Bring it back. Come on, stop. Cut it out.
I can imagine
Cut it out. And she's gonna be like, "What do you mean? Listen, I'm here to actually help you.
You went on a date and it ended up as therapy.
You are going right to hell with all these thoughts." No. Because fam, look. It's what you said, and this is why we have to kind of like take into account what you said, because it's just an evident thing, right? But we also have to take into account the grand scheme of things, always. Because within the grand scheme, you will see that life don't get created without, like, you need man and woman to create life. But you need assistance. You need that mirror of the opposite sex to make you see. Because that woman makes you feel something that no one else can.
And also each of us individually hold different types of wisdom.
100%.
So a male will hold a different type of wisdom that you can't get from another male, you have to get it from a woman. And vice versa. And my thing is though, you spoke about like nails and all this thing. For me, if that is your goal, to like he has to be able to provide these kind of things or be able to do this stuff. Is that what you're saying?
I'll explain a little bit more in a second.
You're open to manipulation, because if
I
know, like this Andrew Tate guy says it, he's like, these women, this is all you need to do. You need to tell them how it is. You give them all this stuff. And So now he knows what's going to make women tick, which means he now knows the key to how to control you, and that's actually not genuine. And so you end up being consumerized, as I call it, capitalized, and then made into a controllable entity. And for me, that's quite dangerous, because you're not going to get a real essence of who this guy is beneath all of that, if that makes sense. So
100%.
it would be interesting, though, if people could meet and not even say a word and sit in space and time and just like and see what they get from that. That would be interesting to me, because then there's no all this talking shit we're always doing. It's a lot of avoidance.
It's always avoidance.
Do you get what I'm saying? It's like
you said ages ago, like, you know, if you was in a situation where you was single, you wouldn't want to like start again because it'd be too much, right, bro? No one wants to really get to that place of like, oh shit, I've got to deal with this. And guess what? Nothing else matters. And you know that, as you said, well, everything that you said matters, because guess what? When you get to that grave and you're gone, it don't matter. When you're born into this, it don't matter. Do you get what I mean? These things don't matter. So what truly matters? How you came to be. Because without how you came to be, with man and woman being in sync, in tune, then there is no life. So all this other stuff is just other stuff. And it's when you make this other stuff more important than the essence, the core.
So this question came from me watching a snippet. It was a podcast I saw actually as well. And the woman was talking about, if we're going on a date, I'm not saying the man has to pay for everything, but he should, if we're in that courting stage, he should be contributing to it. So she was like, if I'm going to get a dress for that date, if I'm doing my hair, she was like, he doesn't have to pay for everything, but he needs to. So one of the guys must have said something along the lines of, but what if I can afford like your clothes or something like that? But she was like, well, then basically you need to date within your wage bracket or something. And I thought, my thing was, that's super interesting, and this, whether you want to say as a woman, as a man, whatever, I found that interesting because my thought was, your wage bracket, your tax bracket, whatever you want to call it, can always change. Right? So if it changes, whether it goes up or down, imagine you meet someone who's on, I don't know, he's on like 100 grand a year. That means technically he should be able to have the pick of the bunch, right? Because he's got a good earning. But now, what if he loses that and then drops down to a job where he's only making 20 grand a year? Should he then lower his standard of women because now his wage bracket has changed? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, to me, the people you like are the people you like. If you're having, you get to know people, and this is why what you're saying, the consumerism, is mad. It's taken over a lot of things. But then on the flip side of what you're saying in terms of how in tune you are and getting to know, like, it makes sense. But a lot of people won't get to that stage because they can't get past that stage. You see what I mean? So, like you said,
it's interesting you say about standard of women,
right?
Because this standard of women, like you see it in kind of the music and entertainment industry, and it's like, well, the more money you get, you got better girls around you. It's that standard of.
But like, then the standard of woman doesn't talk about the quality of the woman. Yeah. And that's the thing. I think people mistake standard and quality as the same thing.
Exactly.
Because you could say that standard of woman and it's a collective of women. Now, in between them, they're all different qualities. But because you've seen them in that realm, with that, they're always with the ballers in that kind of place, and they don't do this, they do that. That doesn't mean it's their quality.
A lot of these, like, it's a thing. A lot of these influencers and stuff like that will put themselves in positions to meet these types of standards of guys, right? They'll go to Knightsbridge with no money in their pocket or whatever it is.
Key.
Have
enough to get them home, maybe.
Like, this is a real thing, and in other, like, lots of places, they'll go and sit in the bar where they know the footballers and all these people, so they can get picked up and
get a free drink.
They don't realise, like,
they're in hell.
You're in hell, man.
Suffering. Yeah. It's all a lie. It's all masks. It's all personality. It's all persona. It's all mask. It's all cover up.
It's front.
It's not true. It's fronts. Okay. These lot are writing stuff, but what are they actually saying? What is the real issue here? When you unpack, it's like, what are you actually talking about?
It's Wizard of Oz.
What are you really saying? And when you really see it for what it is, like, you ain't really saying nothing. Where does that come from? Oh, I've been dealt like this before. Oh, so you've been fucked up, and now you want to make sure that you don't get fucked up again.
So they'll put this in place to protect themselves from that, and then that goes in place, and then it becomes.
And then you end up in a prison.
It's Jenga.
You
That's
end
what
up.
it is.
It's Jenga built up around you
because all it
you
takes
don't
is
want to
one
get.
thing and everything crumbles.
The reason why I say Wizard of Oz is because you've got a group of people who are going on this path, like, for love, right? And you get to Oz, and as we know, when you get to the Oz, you realise it's a whole illusion. There's nothing actually there.
Yeah.
And you're searching for your courage and your heart and your brain and all this stuff. And really, you didn't need to do that journey to nowhere. You needed to unpack within, and then it would come to you.
That's a great example.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's mad. Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's everyone's on this yellow brick road, thinking, like, okay, cool, we're gonna get to Oz and we're gonna get the reward and we're gonna meet God and all this stuff, and they don't realise that it's all the illusion.
The pocket.